views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Welcome, good people of the Bronx and beyond. My name is Henry Ovalles, and I'm your host for A Life in Art. On this show, we will bring you engaging and personal conversations with artists with whom you may not be familiar, people who have been working on their craft for at least a decade and are at a crossroads where passion meets necessity. We'll discuss creativity and inspiration with our guest artists, but also find out what it takes to balance the struggles of practical life while pursuing their passions. Our guest today is a multi-hyphenate, singer, actor, writer, director. He holds a BA in theater from Lehman College. His work as a playwright and director has been showcased across New York City, and he often performs standards and classics with the Lehman Latin Jazz Ensemble. Today we learn about Felix Otero's life in art. And here we are in the studio with Felix Otero. Felix, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Sure, thanks for being here. So we actually have, a pretty long history. We've known each other for a number of years and have collaborated on many projects. As actors, you've directed me a bunch of times in plays that you've written. I've had the chance to direct you in a production of Algo para Contar en Navidad.
Sí.
We've worked in English and Spanish. You're also, we should mention, I didn't say in the credits, production manager for Lehman Stages. I'm the assistant director for Lehman Stages, so we're also colleagues in that respect. So a long history there, and something that I actually should mention that I'm not sure if I've told you, but you're actually the best actor that I've ever shared the stage with also.
Thanks.
No, and I mean, I say that honestly.
Thanks.
So one thing that I should also mention is that you're a pretty private person. So I'm very happy that, you agreed to do this, and we'll see how deep we're able to dig in to the essence of Felix.
Oh boy.
So let's start at the beginning, Felix. Where were you born? Where did you grow up?
I was born in the Bronx, grew up for the most part in the Bronx, in the South Bronx. 1 year we lived in Puerto Rico when I was 8-9 years old.
From 8 to 9 you lived in Puerto Rico?
Yes.
And what was that year like?
It's something I look back and I romanticize about it because I could say, yes, I lived there. When we moved, I was excited because the dream was always to go back to Puerto Rico. Like, I was born here, but my house was, our apartment was Puerto Rico.
Right.
We would listen to the music and our parents would look at us and kind of scold us when we would say, turn that Spanish music off. I said, no, you're Puerto Rican. We have to listen to this. So I was excited to go to Puerto Rico. Getting there, there was a period of transition. I had to get used to it. It was different. I had to get used to it. I had to get used to school. And we would remember New York.
Right.
And, oh, New York. And soon after that, probably the first month or two were kind of tough, but we got used to it and we had a lot of fun there.
What was your Spanish like there did you get to the classroom and realize, oh, wait a minute, it's not as good as I thought it was?
Well, I went there. I was in the 3rd grade. I didn't think about how good my Spanish was or how bad it was. I think I was too young to think about that.
Right.
But since I came from New York, they put me in class 3, 4. Like, how could I say this in a politically correct way? It was the class where the students had the most challenges learning.
All right.
So they thought, he's from New York, he doesn't know Spanish, let's put him in class 3, 4.
So sort of like a special ed type
Not
thing.
special ed, but not the brightest. Not the brightest. There were a few kids looking back. I was in the 3rd grade and I was 8 years old. There was a kid there who was too old to play Little League. So so yeah, maybe some of them did have special needs.
Yes, were challenged academically.
Yeah, but I did well. And the following year, I was in class 401.
Which is lower.
Yeah, that's, the honors.
All right.
And I told my mother, oh, wow, I went from 3-4 to 4-1. And she said, don't say that too loud. Don't say that too loud. You want people,
The neighbors don't need to know about that.
Thinking you're bragging about that.
Yeah.
No.
So I want to hit on that a little bit more, your time in Puerto Rico, because in your work, I could tell that it, that it meant to you, and just as a person in general, it's something that you're very proud of.
Yeah.
Your heritage.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about your family life. So how many brothers and sisters do you have?
It's a big family. It's 5 brothers, 2 sisters. I grew up with 4 of us together, and the 2 sisters, we grew up together. With my parents, my mother and my father. And luckily they were, together, driving each other nuts, but
together.
they stayed together.
And where do you fall in the list of brothers and sisters?
I'm kind of in the middle.
The middle? Okay.
Because my father has a daughter and a son from a previous marriage.
Okay.
And we grew up with Judy, our sister, from our father's previous marriage. We grew up with her. And I was the second of my mother's children.
Right.
So yeah, I'm kind of
okay
in the middle there.
So yeah, your parents all together, and we should say unfortunately your mother's no longer physically with us.
Right.
Passed away a little bit over 2 years, right?
Yes.
A little bit over 2 years ago.
She was freed from the nonsense.
Yeah, yeah, and and she was a great spirit. She would always come to all your shows, and, and would make a point to come and talk to the actors afterwards and all of that.
Yep.
So that was definitely great to be able, the little experiences that I had with her was certainly something.
And she had terrible theater etiquette.
That's true. Also, I wasn't going to go there, but since you
Oh
brought
my
it up.
goodness. She would speak out from the audience when she wasn't supposed to.
Right, it's sort of at the movie theater when you scream at the screen, but this is live theater, and she was screaming at the...
I said, that's my son. It's like, no, mommy,
we talk
right
about
now.
it later. Like when I was on 3-4 and went to 4-1, we talk about it later.
Yeah. Don't do that.
And your father's still with us, and he just had a birthday. How old did he turn?
Yes, my father is 83 years old.
83, wow, what a blessing.
83 years old. Yeah,
fantastic.
He's a trip.
Yes. So your parents were together that whole time. You grew up in a big family. And how did you think that affected you, growing up in a big family?
Family is very important to me. I look out for them.
Yeah. And then at what point did art come into your life?
Probably later. Like we were always listening to music at home. Playing make-believe, my brothers and I playing make-believe, superheroes and all that stuff. Yeah. But in elementary school, chorus, things like that, and plays. But in junior high school, that's when it started. I was lucky. I was in the District 12 after-school performing arts program, where I had to go audition. Children from the district went to audition, and we performed original musicals.
Wow.
We had to, again, audition, we had workshops, we learned about performance and theater, and we put on shows.
And you feel that's when the bug really bit you for the first time hard anyway.
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's take a quick break there, and then we're going to come back and dig a little bit deeper into the artistic life of Felix Otero.
Yeah.
We'll be right back after this.
People think I'm trash, but they're wrong. Today I'm just an aluminum can, but one day I could be a stadium.
Welcome back to Life in Art. We're here with performer Felix Otero. So Felix, we had left off talking about sort of in junior high, you were performing original musicals,
Right.
and that's sort of when it started in a more serious manner, taking shape for you, that art was something that you wanted to pursue. So was there something that you loved more than the other, or since it sort of happened with music and acting at the same time, did they always go hand in hand?
Yeah, I think they went hand in hand, because when I started, it was musical theater. We were acting, but we were also singing and doing some movement.
Right.
But yeah, it all came pretty much at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And which junior high school did you go to?
I went to junior high school 98.
And then where did you go on to high school?
Lehman High School.
Lehman High School. And did you continue performing there, or?
Yeah, I did. It's funny because before going to high school, of course, we all go through what high school we're going to go to. I auditioned for the High School of Performing Arts as a singer. And it was funny because as I was rehearsing, getting ready for that audition, I didn't do very well at the rehearsals because a part of me didn't know if I wanted to go to that school.
Right.
I wasn't sure if that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to make sure that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to see if I could expose myself to other things and make sure that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I didn't do too well with the rehearsals and with the prep for the audition, which was surprising to my teacher. And when I went to audition, I thought, well, I'm gonna audition. I might as well do well. So I did pretty well, and I got in. But they accepted me, but I didn't go.
You decided not to go?
Yeah, I decided not to go.
Huh. And why was that? Just because of what you were saying, that
Yeah.
you weren't sure that was what was for you?
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I wanted to be sure.
That's interesting. I mean, and that's a lot of pressure. I mean, we work in a college environment where we have a lot of students coming up to us saying, you know, what should I pursue? You know, what major should I choose? And it's sort of a big decision because there's sort of a mindset, probably more so in the generations before ours and ours, that thinks you go to college to go get a job, so it has to be something very practical. But in a more liberal arts sense, that's not necessarily, you know, what it is. It's more about you go to college to sort of find yourself and discover what your tools are, what your strengths and weaknesses are.
Right, right.
But at a high school level, you're talking about, you know, a lot of students are faced with that, with having to make that decision even earlier on as to what am I going to do with the rest of my life. So
Yeah.
it could be daunting. And
Yeah.
then what happens? Where do you decide to go for college?
For college, I went to NYU. I went to the Tisch School of Arts. I was there for 2 years.
And what was the process like there? Let me back up a little bit, because you had to audition to get into Tisch as well.
Yes, yes.
So talk to me about the difference between that audition and your audition from junior high school into high school. At this point, yes, more confident and I'm going to give it everything I got.
Yeah, that one, yeah, more confidence. Stakes were higher. I knew that this is what I wanted to do, and I went for it.
Right.
Yeah.
So you were at NYU for 2 years, so you didn't
Yeah.
finish the program there.
No, I didn't finish the program. It's funny because I went there and it was a great experience, but I started to not like acting anymore. And part of that was because I wasn't thick-skinned. I was, 18, 19-year-old guy. I swore I knew what acting was, and I had no idea what acting was. I learned there, and I'm still learning.
Right.
But
it was a hard lesson though while you were
yes, they break you down to build you back up, and I was just, I was too immature to survive that breaking down and building up. I was also struggling with wanting to sing, and I was working with a friend of mine writing songs, and we were in the music scene as well. And I thought, well, maybe I'm having more fun with the singing. Let me stop acting for a while and let me, pursue singing.
So at that point, did you drop out of NYU? And
I took a year off.
Okay.
I took a year off. The plan was to go back, but during that year off, I started working. At that time, my father, he got sick, so I just kept on working. And a part of me just did not want to act anymore. And I continued to do the music.
Right.
Trying to pursue a record deal.
Yeah.
And
how did that pan out?
Nah, it didn't pan out. It was a lot of fun. It was a learning experience. We just dealt with people who didn't have what we thought they had. A lot of talk, no substance. And then maybe like 8 years later, the acting bug started
Came back.
started to come
itching
back.
again.
Yeah.
Huh.
Started to come back. And what's funny is that once I started to act again, and I wasn't sure if I would be able to, but once I started again, the stuff that I learned at Tisch, the stuff that was probably too difficult to me to handle when I was 18, 19 years old, that's the stuff that helped me.
Right. Now
Helped
in your
me.
late 20s when you went
Right,
back
when
to
I
it.
started again in my late 20s, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
So throughout the years, because as I mentioned at the top of the show, you're a very private person, I've been able to take some names out of you, of some of your classmates that you had at NYU.
Right.
Because again, with college, one of the great things about it is the networking and who you meet. So there, NYU being what it is, has some successful names that have come through there. And some of your classmates, if I remember correctly, are
Yeah.
Chandra Wilson of Grey's Anatomy's fame, Jesse Martin
Yes.
of Law & Order and Rent fame,
Right.
and Ken Marino, the
Right.
popular comic actor.
Mm-hmm.
So when you see them on the screen, posters with their names and faces
Right,
on
right.
it, does that make you think like, oh, what if, or are you sort of satisfied with your path in life?
No, I'm happy for them. They deserve it. This very, very talented and very hardworking, and they're the ones that are out there in the public eye. But the classmates that we had, all of them were so talented and so driven. Tim Cusick is head of the Theater of the Askew in the city, and I'm sure all of them, success is, people could see success in different ways. It could be measured differently. They're the ones that are out there in the public eye, but I'm sure all of them are successful in their own right, whether it be acting, producing, or in other endeavors, if artistic or otherwise. But when I see them, I'm happy. I'm happy that they're out there doing their thing. I'm very happy for them.
Right.
And the what if, sometimes I think, oh, what if I would have stayed in touch with them? But I didn't. But I'm definitely happy with them. And when I do start thinking, what if I would have stayed there? I know things would have been so different. I don't know what would have happened. Maybe I wouldn't have met the people I met if,
Right.
the people that I met after that, maybe I would not have met had I stayed.
Right.
Maybe I would not have met my wife and
Yeah.
you guys.
So let's actually get into that a little bit. Your Lehman family,
Right.
which is sort of your extended family. So Lehman College is where we
Yes.
met, and that's, I guess, after you took your acting hiatus. You
Yes.
came back, I guess, just to finish your degree, so you could have that title, that diploma,
Right.
and then you found the theater department somehow, where it found you.
Yeah, I came looking. I think I came back in 93, 94, and I took a class with Ralph Azamanian. Great. He was great. He is the real deal. He was no joke. And when the first, I got to his class and he was trying to see, okay, who do I have? And he was asking me, who I am, my major, and I told him, and he asked me, why don't you take an acting class or directing class? And I told him, oh no, I don't know how to act. I need to learn how to act before I direct. And then he said, he asked me some other questions like, why are you taking this class? And I told him, well, if I want to, it was play analysis.
Okay.
So I said, if I want to be an actor, I might as well know what I'm reading about before I act. And he looked at me, he said, I like your attitude. Because he's no joke. He knew that, I'm what? He didn't know how old I was, but he's thinking, okay, college kid, you think you know, but you don't.
Right.
And when he saw that I told him, I don't know, he said, I like you. He said, I like it. I like your style.
I like that.
You know you don't know, so that's good.
Right.
But he was great. He was
Well,
great.
and that's great that, maybe if he would have met the NYU tissue, the 18, 19-year-old, maybe he would have run into what he was expecting of, oh, I know.
Exactly.
I'm coming to take the world by
no,
storm.
and the reason he liked me as a student, and the reason I was able to get what I got from him was because of the teachers at NYU.
Right.
I was pretty much telling him what I learned from them.
Right.
And almost verbatim. And then I came back finally to finish my degree a few years later, and that's
That was in the 2000s then.
yeah, I think so. Yeah. When did I graduate? Yeah, I'm losing track of the years.
I think 2008.
2008.
When
Yeah.
you
So
graduated.
that was it was a long journey. It was a long journey, but I finally got the degree, and we did some shows. We did West Side Story, your favorite show ever. You had to
Yes.
sing and dance. We met for the first time. We had to learn choreography, and you were loving it.
Oh yeah. You were learning choreography. I was learning something else. Not sure what that was. People who have been watching the show know that I'm no big fan of musical theater, and that was a trial by fire right there that I had to deal with. But everybody in the dressing rooms and in the whatever, oh, Felix, you gotta talk to this guy Felix. Oh no, he's great. I'm like, oh, what? And then I saw you. That's when I saw you perform for the first time, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah. That's what I want to follow. That's what I want to do. So
That's what they're talking about.
that's what they're talking about. So we're actually going to wind down on this segment, but when we come back, then I want to talk to you about moving from acting to playwriting and directing, and talking to you about your music career as well, and what that has meant to you, and how your time at Lehman eventually led to greater things happening for you. When you started working here, it's sort of then you met your wife, and now you have a family of your own. So when we come back, we're going to talk about all of that. We'll be back right after this.
We finally bought a place.
You seriously have enough saved to do that?
We've been putting a little aside each month.
So at the end of the month, we have nothing left to save. How is my account overdrawn?
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org.
And we're back on The Life in Art with Felix Otero. So Felix, let's continue then with your journey. So you make it to Lehman College. The acting bug is back in you. You perform in over a dozen shows during your time at Lehman?
I think so.
Right, so that's quite an
that,
education.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Right. And then what's happening with your music career during that point also, because you're still interested in it?
Yes, right now I sing with the Latin Jazz Band here at Lehman, and that's a lot of fun. I'm singing in front of like 12, 15 piece band, and that's a lot of fun. And I'm singing songs that are great songs to sing, and songs that I heard growing up, songs that I never knew. I never knew of, and I think it's been a really, really great experience. Armando Rodriguez and Victor Rendon, the directors of the Latin Jazz Band, they're great, and the band, all those guys are so talented and cool.
Great.
It's a blast.
And then now let's talk a little bit about your playwriting and directing. You had mentioned, earlier that Professor Ralph Halzermanian that you met at Lehman, you took a play analysis class with him, and he said, why don't you take acting or directing? And you had mentioned, no, I need to learn the basics first. I might as well know what I'm doing. So what made you feel that you knew that you were doing enough to start writing your own plays and directing plays?
I think from what I learned from him, and life experiences, and reading all the plays and performing all these plays, I thought maybe I could give it a shot. And in the early 2000s, I think, El Repertorio Español, they still do have the MetLife series. It's a play contest, original plays.
Nuestras Voces, I think they call it,
And Nuestras Voces, and
Our Voices.
Yeah, and I saw that, and I thought, hey, let me try and write something. And I wrote this play, English Please, and I was pleasantly surprised to find out that it was in the top 10. Wow. So that was very cool. We
the
had
very first play that you ever wrote?
Yeah, and I gave them the first draft.
Wow.
I gave them the first draft. I didn't respect the process because when we had the reading, that was for me. That was for me to see what worked, what wouldn't work, but I just I let it be. I let it be, but that was a cool, very, very cool thing, and I thought, hey, maybe I could do that.
All right.
All right, cool.
And then directing, when did that happen first?
Directing happened here.
At Lehman College?
Directing happened here at Lehman.
Was Shades of Grey the first play that you directed?
Yes, because I wasn't going to direct it. That's right.
Right. So tell us that story.
Yeah, Shades of Grey. I wrote the play Shades of Grey because I had something to say, and I said that in the play, and we were doing it at the Manhattan Theater Club, and I got a good friend of mine.
Manhattan Repertory Theater, actually.
What did I
Manhattan,
say?
You said Manhattan Theater Club, which is the big Broadway and off-Broadway venue.
No.
We're at a smaller off-Broadway venue.
Okay, yeah, much
Manhattan Rep, which has its own great mission, and we love those guys over there. But yes,
those
Manhattan
guys are
Rep.
great. Yeah. So we did that there, and a good friend of mine, Yvonne, was directing it. That didn't work out, so I had to jump in. Because I thought, no, I wrote it, I shouldn't direct it, but I had to jump in, and that was a really cool experience. And then based on the input that you gave me and Sam gave me, I thought, hey.
Right, Sam Rivera, who we've mentioned a lot on this show.
Right. Oh, yeah?
Who's our mutual friend, actor, and now a firefighter.
Right.
Yeah, he was, we were your actors in that play.
Yeah. And based on what you guys told me, I thought, hey, maybe I could do this. This is pretty cool.
Right, so that was the beginning.
Yeah.
And then after
that
that, you pretty much after that, most of the plays that you wrote, you directed yourself.
Right.
Right, and that includes, you know, plays like Vida de Perro, which talks about the Latino male experience in the United States and you know, history of Latin America countries and how we interact with each other.
Right.
And what other plays? What am I missing?
Above the River.
Mm-hmm.
And then we started doing Spanish plays.
Right.
Vida de Perro was the first one. Mi Odisea en Nueva York.
Mm-hmm.
Mi Última Canción.
Right. And that's where I wanted to go. Mi Última Canción, which is the most recent play that we worked on together.
Right.
You wrote it, directed it, and we both starred in it.
Right.
And something interesting about that play was that it featured original music by Felix Otero.
Yeah.
And you actually got up there and not only sang, which you're comfortable doing, but played the guitar, which you weren't so comfortable doing, at least not in front of an audience. So what was that experience now at this point in your life and career to be a songwriter, you know, performing your songs in front of an audience?
Yeah, I used to write songs years ago, and the songs that we did for the show are songs that I wrote some time ago, and I would play home. I'm quite a novice at the guitar, and that show was the first time I played the guitar in front of an audience. So that was a trip, but part of me thought, okay, grow up, just play in front of people, sing in front of people, come on, do it. You put your foot in your mouth, you say you were gonna do the play, so do it. So then we did it.
Well, I mean, I think that just talks to the importance about challenging yourself at every stage in your career.
Yeah.
And now in the last couple of minutes, I want to talk a little bit about, you know, your personal life and how it sort of has worked together. So after you graduated from Lehman College, a position opened up for production manager. Dante Alberti, you know, knew of you, who's our boss and the director of Lehman Stages, and approached you about that position and applying for it. And then sort of your personal life, as that happened, you got the new job, and then...
Yeah, everything happened quickly. I got the new job. I didn't get the girl. She told me she liked me, she loved me as a brother, which I didn't believe. And Dante said, oh my goodness, you just started the job and now this girl's gonna get you all depressed. But probably a month later, she said she didn't love me as a brother. So that worked out.
She was just holding back her true feelings.
She was in denial.
And now 2 babies later.
Yes, now 2 babies later and bags under my eyes. We're trying to, you know, trying to balance the arts and, you know, having a family. It's a work in progress. I don't want to say it's a struggle because I'm dealing with 2 things that I love.
Right.
And what's more important than having a family, you know, and taking care of your kids, and doing art that moves people, that inspires people, that makes people think, that challenges us. I think that's very honorable as well, and I wanna tackle that. I wanna continue to tackle that.
Well, that's great, man. I think that that's actually a great way to end the show. So thanks for coming on, and yeah, I think that'll do it. It seems we've run out of time, and thanks to Felix for sharing his life and art with us, and thanks to all of you for joining us today. We want to encourage you to connect with us on social media. Visit us on Facebook and YouTube at A Life in Art, and Instagram and Twitter at A Life in Art TV. We'll be back with more stories from emerging artists when we return with A Life in Art.